My name is JP, Jason Pereira. I am Samoan and a little bit of Portuguese. My family ascends from Tutuila Island, American Samoa, from the villages of Leone, Whangaitua, and Vatia. Born and raised here in Harbor City, Carson. And yeah, Carson kid through and through. And
Carson in the house. They also from Carson.
you know what's up? Yep, right off of Figueroa on 214th. And Moneta Block Kid, yep.
If you could
Okay.
smell your grandmother or mother's kitchen right now, what would they be cooking, or what would it smell like?
You said smell, and I did think of a very specific smell. It would be these falas, because these always smell like remind me of my grandma. However, you mentioned food. It would be pisopo chop suey, and I got so tired of it. But when you don't have that much money or food, it's always open the can of pisopo, mix it with the noodles, and that's what we're gonna have with rice. So, yeah, preservation. I'm still thinking through what that means and what that looks like. I think it's natural for things to have their time and then to, either move on to the next realm or transform into its next phase or form, But there is value in preservation because then people in the future like us, right, we get to still see, our messina, our cultural treasures. And so I appreciate that. I have different dimensions of the way I think about preservation. But to answer your question specifically, I would say our stories, because of the world we live in, which is a written language world. I think it's important that our stories are preserved in writing. However, digital versions are a little complicated because we're starting to see that digital forms of our written stories can be taken down, disappeared, deleted. It's happening right now with our data, which is a form of our stories. The U.S. government is removing all NHPI data and wanting to just disappear us into the Asian American subgroup. That was a report I just was told yesterday. And so, when I think about preservation, like, okay, the preservation is on us. That's the U.S. government doing what they're going to do. We have a responsibility to preserve our own stories, to archive our own stories, to tell our own stories. So that's my stance on that.
You're definitely helping me preserve some of those stories, so I appreciate you taking the time. Your philosophy is all about art being medicine. When I think of that, mental health comes to mind. What's something you had to unlearn to become who you are today?
Ooh, unlearn. Wow. There's a lot of things. There's some really pertinent things, but what's coming to mind right now is time. We live in this time and space where, and even the clock, the calendar, is very white-centric, and we know from reference points growing up that, things like island time, Samoan time, they don't fit these time models here. So, when we say we're going to be there, just how we behave with our family, our friends, in relationship to time, what time means as far as work time, rest time, play time, it looks really different, and I'm starting to see that. And by seeing that and trying to, experiment and practice that and even talk about that, that's my way of unlearning the way that time is understood in this Western world today.
When you first started, when did you realize this wasn't just a hobby as someone being a first of visual arts in your family?
I would say kind of going through high school, I knew I wanted to be actually specifically a professional graffiti artist. That didn't exist. It exists now. It's a multi-million-dollar industry, the graffiti, spray paint, art, graphics type of art lane. But yeah, I knew then this is what I wanted to do. Now, could I do it? No, my parents did not believe in that. We didn't have any reference points in our community for what an artist is, what an artist looks like. Other than, again, Eurocentric Western ideas of the starving artist. Artists only make money after they die. Art only exists in museums and galleries. And so just having to kind of carve our own path of what art looks like as a Samoan, as a Pacific Islander, living here in diaspora, it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of long, hard way. But hey, we're here now.
We're here now, and we're currently in your tent full of your art. So definitely your presence is felt. art creatives talk about the unique weight of walking in two worlds. On one hand, you have deep respect for traditions and protocols. On the other hand, you are a modern artist living in 2026 with your own perspective. How do you decide where the boundary lies between honoring legacy as it was passed down to you and boldly pushing it forward so the next gen receives something evolving?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I think about that all the time. I feel like when I was younger, I don't want to say a rule follower, but that was just the way that I knew, like, to copy our tattoos, to copy our siapo, to copy, things that I saw in our culture. And, like, that was the way it needed to be.
Right.
But as I grew in my artist practice, I started acknowledging I'm a Samoan, I'm an artist too, I'm an adult. Like, I have my own thoughts and expressions of what being a Samoan artist is, of what Samoan art is. And matter of fact, anything that I make is Samoan art because
True.
I'm someone that made it. So now I say that boldly right here, but you say that in front of, like, your elders, or like, it took a lot of time and it took a lot of courage to get to that point. And I feel like the older I get, the more I'm like, it's not that I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think until I do, And so I like to play with what that boundary is. And it's very situational. It depends on what my intentions are for a certain project. It depends on who it's in service to, and so there's a lot of different factors that need to be considered in, like, how I'm going to play with these ideas of what a boundary is for our arts. Man, it is a look like.
The glasses came off, y'all. He means serious business.